I don't know who you are, but welcome to the Irish Photography Podcast. Sit back, relax, and listen about cameras, gear, settings, stories, and all things photography. Join Darren on Ireland's Best Photography Podcast. Let's go.
You're very welcome to episode 150 of the Irish Photography Podcast. My name is Darren, I'm your host, and I'm joined by somebody who I'm really excited to have a chat with. He is one of the most phenomenal photographers in Ireland, and I'm delighted to welcome to the podcast, Felix. How are you getting on, man?
Hi Darren, how are things? Thanks very much for having me on.
Thanks a million for coming on, man. Yeah, do you know what? I'm excited now to have the chat with you. I know we spoke about it during the summer, and I said, you know what? I'll give you an opportunity to give the spoils to BG after you winning your recent competition. So I'm really excited to learn more about that as well. And more importantly, learn more about your photography journey anyway so far. So, what's the story with you at the moment? No storm. We're recording this on the Monday before the storm Barra arrives in Ireland. So no storm, no wind up with you anyway in Galway at the moment, no?
No, it's grand here in Galway. Literally the calm before the storm. But yeah, we'll see what it's like tomorrow.
Yeah, I'd say no, it's going to be pretty insane, I think, in the whole region of Kerry and Cork anyway. So we'll get the most of it down
we'll
here.
Get the blunt of it anyways.
Yeah, absolutely. And I suppose, look, you know, before we even get into all the details, let people know, who is Felix?
My name is Felix. I'm living in Galway. I'm originally from Mayo. I've been in Galway now for a couple of years. My parents are originally from Germany. That's why the German name with the Irish accent. I grew up in Mayo. I studied marine science. So I'm into the outdoors, fishing, hiking, all that sort of stuff. And basically picked up a camera to kind of take a few pictures of the places I was seeing when I was in the outdoors. And it just kind of went on from there. And the rest is history, so they say.
Yeah, the rest, as they say, is history. Yeah. And, you know, I kind of alluded to there at the beginning, and I suppose I want to have a chat with you about your recent accolade. So tell us, during the summer, June, you won a prestigious award. What was it?
Yeah, it was the, get the name right, that's the trickiest bit about World Landscape Photographer of the Year, 2021.
Wow.
So, yeah, no, I still can't believe it fully now, to be honest. It feels like ages ago at this stage.
Yeah, you're still pinching yourself every day, I suppose. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, no, it still doesn't feel right. But,
well, do you know what? Right, I tell you one thing. I mean, you know, number one, I was delighted that you won it. I was delighted that somebody from Ireland had won it, and I was delighted that Ireland, being the landscape, was the landscape that won it as well. And I mean, even your image that you took. You know, I know when you were talking on Bernard's podcast in relation to it and going into a lot of detail. And actually, if somebody hasn't heard that, you know, full fresh off the block story in relation to winning it, I'll put a link in the description so people can go listen to that great conversation. But that being said, you know, the image, it does resonate in so many different things. And I remember listening when you were talking to Bernard, you're like, Jesus, yeah, now that I hear people talking about it, I can see the amount of detail that people get out of the image and what you had within the image. But maybe just, I suppose, describe to people what was the story with the image that you took and how did you get that image? And then obviously just winning the award, I think, is the kind of the cherry on the cake. But describe the image to the listeners.
Yeah, so it was last winter during one of the storms that we got there, and I headed down I was down in Doolin a couple of times, and on this day anyways, I headed down, and it was one of your typical winter storms, and it was freezing cold and wind and rain and waves and all that. So I basically had been there a couple of times, but I basically saw it from a new angle, and I decided to shoot it from there. Basically, the waves crashing against the Doolin cliffs, and you had the little old cottage in the background leading up towards the cliffs of Moher, which are kind of way back in the background, and there was waves crashing against the cliffs and bouncing back out, and bouncing into the next wave, and there was like the wind blowing the waves over the cliffs, and there's little waterfalls, little streams in the back then that are getting blown back over the cliff, kind of creating upward waterfalls and all sorts of things.
Class.
So yeah, just that kind of typical winter stormy thing, and it just kind of brings everything together as well, I feel. you got a bit of everything there. You have a bit of mood, but also a bit of light, and yeah,
And a lot of action, a lot of
that's it.
movement. And like, remember when I first looked at the image, Felix, I went, "Wow, look at that! That's action! Like that's a winter storm." But like you have waves upon back crashing waves, and everything just so great comes together in the image. I love the image, and I was delighted. It's like I said from the outset that somebody from Ireland won it. But like even since winning it, now you just received your prize, which was a Nikon Z7 Mark II, I believe,
Yeah,
and you also had a lens and everything else that you got as part of fantastic prize. But I
unreal. Yeah.
presume you've gone out and you've used your prize a lot now since June, have you?
A good bit. I actually haven't been out too much now during then, because to be honest, I haven't been too motivated, or I find it hard to find the motivation to go out and shoot.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So actually, I haven't been out too much now. Slowly, it's kind of starting to come back again. Um, but yeah, it's maybe just in the summer too. Might have them kind of bland conditions where sunrise is so early and sunset is so late. You don't really go out for them, and there's nothing too special happening. Whereas now, it's the last few weeks, months, we've had a bit of autumn colors, which is nice, and starting to get a few storms on the coast again, a bit of snow in the mountains. So all them kind of fun things are starting to come back. But yeah, to be honest, I've been out a good few times, but I haven't really been hugely motivated to shoot too much. And also the editing part, I feel like my laptop isn't fully ready for the what is it, 48 megabyte files on the
Mm-hmm.
Z7 too.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
Mm-hmm.
been slow at the best of times. But yeah, even with the bigger files, been even slower. But I'm looking to sort that out with a bit of gas and get a new laptop now at Christmas time.
The
So
old gas
hopefully
is good, boy. The gas is good. We all need a bit of gas.
we do, and that fuels more gas in this term now, because I need like that. I need the new laptop to process the files. But yeah,
And
since then I've been doing a bit of shooting here and there, but nothing too mad.
well, no, we're going back into the winter season, which would be your favorite time. So I'm sure you'll get out a lot more. And I think even with that in mind, like you won it in the summertime, you're kind of still probably getting your hands used to it. You had a D750 beforehand, so I imagine you kind of had a bit of muscle memory built up from using the Nikon ecosystem anyway, did you?
Yeah, I didn't feel that like there was much difference there in terms of handling the menus and all that are all the same.
Right.
There's
Okay.
few little features that kind of are a nice upgrade to have. Like you wouldn't really think of it that you need them too much, but it's just all them little bits that make it nice, like the touch screen, and there's a counter as well. I don't know why they've only put this in now, but if you're doing whatever 200-second exposure, whatever, you have a little countdown thing at the top and all them kind of
Oh,
things.
nice.
You can go
Nice.
up to 900 seconds instead of just the usual 30. So yeah, just the little things like that
For
are
sure.
nice. Yeah.
And tell me, I suppose, since winning the prestigious award, then what's happened since? I know you were talking with Bernard and that people had been reaching out to you and you were on RT News and such like that. Has there been more stuff like that since June, or was it the peak of winning it, or has anything interesting happened, I suppose, since June and now?
Yeah, no, that was the peak. I was going to say it was not over within a week, but I'd say the majority of it was in the first week or so. And then yeah, maybe a bit after that when people saw it here and there in other places. But yeah, since then I haven't really heard much about the competition or anything from it. Like,
Mm.
so
For
yeah, it's been,
next year now, when it rolls around again, you'll be rolled out as the reigning champion. And yeah, we gotta go. We gotta try and beat you next year, I think, do we?
that's it. Yeah, you'll have a good chance anyways beating me. That's not too hard. So
I don't know, man. With bangers like that, you know what I mean. You phenomenal shot that you'd enter into it, and I think again, like I say, if you want to hear the full story behind that, have a listen to the excellent podcast that you did with Bernard, and I put a link into the description below in relation to that.
yeah,
But
it's probably
tell,
easier just to listen to that instead of us talking about it here for another half an hour before we get into
yeah,
everything else.
we get into the nitty gritty, and I suppose speaking of nitty gritty, let's bring it all the way back, right? So you said you're an outdoor guy, you love being in the outdoors, and then you had your camera to take some images. Is that how you got started in photography, or did you have a camera in your hand from a young age? How did you get started?
Yeah, well, I properly started. I got probably 7 years ago or so. Whenever I got my first DSLR. But the more I think about it, it kind of probably started way before that. I remember
Right.
getting this little film camera when I did my confirmation or something, and having that and taking pictures. And I remember going to Dublin Zoo one day, and I took a picture, I'd say, of all the animals, and I had a little notebook and wrote down which ones I took a picture of. Obviously,
Nice.
some of them were absolutely tiny. You wouldn't even know what it is, to be honest.
Right.
But I took a picture of it nonetheless. I was obviously no skill or anything like that. It probably cost a bomb of money then to get developed in the local
Developed, yeah.
pharmacy.
Yeah.
But that kind of seems one of my earliest kind of memories of having a camera. And then I used to have a little point and shoot camera, but I don't know, would I even take it on holidays? I'd take the odd picture here and there. And then it slowly only got into it then when the GoPros came out. I
Right.
got one of them to use for like snorkeling or skiing, snowboarding, surfing, all them kind of things, kind of the water activities. Because I just kind of thought it was cool to have something that you could whatever bring underwater. So I'd say that's where it kind of started properly, and then from there I kind of wanted to capture pictures like where you see the milky water. At the time I didn't know how exactly that worked, or I knew it was a long exposure, or the car trails, all them kind of things that you can't kind of do with a regular camera. So that's why I ended up getting a DSLR. It was like a D3200 Nikon. So I nearly turned into a Canon shooter as well, because I kind of looked into it, and I was going to get like whatever the entry level Canon, I think it was,
Yeah,
like
the 1000D or something like that.
something like that. So I asked Santa for one of them anyways, and when Santa went to the shop, they had the Nikon on offer with the 18 to 105 lens and a little bag with it. So
Right.
Santa went with the offer and the memory card as well. And yeah, since then now I've been shooting Nikon.
And actually, you know, that's interesting, though, right? Because they say that people, you always kind of continue on with the first camera that you've gotten. So, like you say, you know, Nikon. For me, it was Canon, and I just stuck with Canon.
Yeah,
But then you start looking at Sony, and Sony wasn't there when Nikon, you know, Pentax, Fuji, and all the old names were around. So, like, what I know now, you know a number of guys that would shoot with Sony, but did you ever think about moving over to Sony? Or are we always going to be, no, I'm a Nikon guy and I'm going to stick with Nikon?
um, I I'm trying to think now. I've went through a few cameras now. I've killed one and damaged one and stuff
As you
like
do,
that.
yeah.
So I that was kind of just before I think Sony properly came onto the scene. So I think there
Right.
was probably a time, probably a year ago maybe, when I did consider moving to Sony, just because it would have been kind of costly enough to kind of move to mirrorless Nikon.
Hmm.
And then obviously lenses, they still work, but you need the adapter. And like that, the D750, it's kind of getting to a bit of an older stage. Obviously, it's still a great camera. I won the competition with it, and I still have it now and shoot with it every now and again. But yeah, there probably was a time there where it would have worked out to move to Sony if I was moving from the mirror to the mirrorless camera, anyways. But yeah, I think at this stage with all the lenses and stuff like that, and
That's
there's not
exactly it, yeah.
too much
That's it.
difference, anyways, between all the different brands at this stage. Like it's just whatever
agree.
menu you kind of like and what you're used to.
I agree. You know what? There's no such thing as a bad camera now these days. Every
No,
single camera is phenomenal. But like you nailed it there, I think, is in relation to the lenses and the glass, because, you know, you can change your camera body, but your glass can last you from a number of iterations of a camera body. So I'm sure, like, even with the lenses that you would have, you know, from your D750,
yeah,
like with an adapter, you can use those on the Z series as well. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, I only recently got, well, kind of within the last year, a 14 to 24 Sigma f2.8 and a
Nice.
Tamron 100 to 400.
Nice.
Um, so I kind of had them quite recently. So I'd probably keep them as well for quite a few years. And then yeah, I got the 24 to 70 f2.8 with the camera. And then I just got an adapter which the two lenses work perfectly on. So I'm fairly sorted from that aspect on it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you
And
know
it
what?
worked out great as well that it ended up being a Nikon for the competition. Like if it would have been a Sony
Just
or
going to say it.
a
Yeah.
Canon that I won, it would have been a bit of a trickier decision to make.
I was just going to say it. Aren't you haunted now as well? You know, as you say, that was handy. I needed a new
Yeah.
camera. Just so happened to be a Nikon. Like, do you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
I can't get away from it now at this stage. Like,
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And tell me, you know, in all the times then that you've been taking photos and such like that, and then, you know, as you said, like, you know, taking photographs of animals and plants and such like that, have you tried other styles or genres of photography, or was it landscape that you were always attracted to and stuck to?
I think at the start when I got the DSLR, it was more or less anything that I could get a hold of. I was living in Galway and I was in college here. I didn't have a car, so I just went basically all around town and doing car trails of just car driving by, like just stupid
Gotcha.
stuff like
Yeah.
that. Now when I look back at it, I only really properly got into landscape then when I moved to Donegal for work and I had a car and I was able to go out and all that.
Right.
So apart from just kind of everything to do with the outdoors, like whatever astro and all that, I haven't done too much. I've gone to the odd Connacht rugby match and took a few pictures there of the rugby matches, or even when I played up myself up in Donegal. If I wasn't playing or anything like that, I'd bring the camera and take a few pictures, but nothing kind of to the extent that I've done, say, the outdoor photography.
Mm. And is somebody, do you ever get anybody ever ask you, like, you know, come and take pictures there of, I don't know, communion, confirmation, christening, wedding, or anything like that? Does anybody
Yeah,
ever ask you that because they know you've got a camera and you're an award-winning photographer, by the way?
exactly. Yeah, you always kind of get them. There's a wedding last year, but I tell people I take pictures to get away from people, not to take pictures of people. So they usually understand then when I tell them that.
Yeah, I'm exactly the same as that. You know, I often say, like, I don't have to pose a rock. I mean, that's the thing, you know, you try and get people involved in it, and I think it's a nightmare. I couldn't do it. I
Yeah.
couldn't, you know, I wouldn't be able to handle it. Like, and I suppose then with that in mind, what is it about the landscape that you love so much?
I don't know. It's just kind of getting out there. I think the great thing about photography, it kind of gets you out there when you normally wouldn't, or definitely wouldn't be out there. Like, if I wasn't taking pictures, there'd be no way I'd be out there for sunrise just to be there, kind of a thing. So it's kind of great that way, that it kind of, the photography gets you out there, but also then like the landscape it's nice to be out there as well at the same time, which kind of the two of them kind of piggyback off each other, and you're just kind of getting that experience that you normally wouldn't get, I'd say. That's kind of
I
the thing.
fully agree with you. You know what? There's a lot to be said for what the landscape photography can do, particularly from your own mindset and mental health. You know, I mean, you get out, you're in the fresh air, you've nobody annoying you. It's you at nature. You could be by the coast, you could be in the woodland, you could be anywhere. And I think with that in mind, it fuels the soul, as far as I'm concerned. Are you similar to that?
Definitely, yeah. It's nearly like you just get away, you forget about everything. It's nearly like a meditation or something like that, because you're just forgetting about everything else
Yeah.
that you could be thinking about, and you're just concentrating on something so simple. Like, even if you think about like nearly something silly, like taking a picture of something tiny, but you're just fully in the moment and you're not thinking about all the other stuff that you could be thinking about.
And people would pay a fortune for therapy to do the same sort of thing. No, mind you, photography isn't cheap either, so it
I was
does
about to
cost you a
say that
fortune.
it
Like.
evens out then when you count the gear. Yeah,
Yeah, you know, I've often said 1,000 times before, I hope that when I die that my wife doesn't sell my camera gear for what I told her it cost me,
yeah.
because that is going to be a problem. You know, it ain't cheap, but at the
No,
same point, it's you know
it's
what, it's so good. I mean, you've obviously seen it yourself. You know, you could be off out, you've a million and one things going through your head, and you go off out, and before you realize it, you go, "What was in my head? I can't remember." And it's no longer, it becomes trivial, you know, and you might find the solution to the problem as well as right under your nose when you stop thinking about it. And that's the
yeah.
best thing I love about it, you know?
You also have the aspect then when you have the finished pictures and people see them and they enjoy them, of having that enjoyment from other people as well, which
Hmm.
obviously look at it as well and might even have the same effect on them as you had
Hmm.
when when you're shooting it, that they're kind of not thinking about something else, then they're just looking at the picture and how nice it is and all that, or how bad it
And
is.
well, you know what? I mean, every single thing, I think, you know, every image we look at, either be our own or somebody else's, it will have some sort of an effect. It'll either be, wow, Jesus, where's that? Or that's a great shot. Or you might look at it and go, ugh, whatever. But even still, it has an effect because you're looking at colors, you're looking at nature, you're looking at something that is, you know, passing you by for a split second. For me, I think, the biggest and most enjoyable part of it is that when you take an image that you might go, okay, I like that. It's not my greatest, but I like it. But it resonates with other people and they go, geez, that's a great shot.
Yeah.
Is it?
And even if they then want to hang it up on the wall, like that's even more
Even
of
better.
an achievement,
Yeah,
or even nicer.
even
Like
better.
when people like it so much that they want to have it hanging in their wall and make their home nicer.
Fully agree. And like, we're very, very lucky here. I mean, you're very lucky in where you're living as well. I mean, Mayo, beautiful area, Galway, beautiful area, but the whole of area of Ireland, I think, is phenomenal. We've got so many beautiful places on our doorstep. And it's a conversation I know I've had in the podcast and I've had with Bernard a number of times as well, is that, like, I think Ireland is pretty much the kind of the hidden gem per se in relation to what we have on offer here. Tell me a bit about where you have and what's your playground around where you live.
Yeah, geez, where do I start? Like there's so much here on, like, basically the full west coast, but yeah, here especially now in Galway, I've been work out in Connemara, so I'm out there quite a bit, and I could nearly say it kind of has it all. It has the mountains, it has the sea, it has forests, waterfalls, everything, like dark skies. So you could spend the rest of your life just shooting out there. And also it seems like, especially a lot of places in Ireland, there's still so much kind of unexplored, compared to other places that are like, whatever, Iceland. It feels like there's been so much shot there, and you've seen pictures over and over. Whereas here in Ireland, like, you just go down this little road and you see so many things that you've never seen a picture of before. So yeah, we're so lucky to be living here in Ireland, and especially like on the west coast or along the coast anywhere really. There's always a few mountains about and all that, so it's great, of course.
And speaking of Connemara, I mean, Pine Island, Derry Clare Lough, that place is just magical. I know it's one of
Yeah,
your favorite places that you go to.
yeah, it's definitely such a nice spot. Like sometimes even there last weekend, I met up with Bernard and Milo and Declan, and there's nothing really happening. It was a clear enough sky. There didn't seem like there was much reflections about, but there was nothing else really around. So we ended up going to Derry Clare, and it was just a lovely sunrise again. Like there was a few clouds over the mountains and a nice bit of light and everything like that. And it always just seems to be like one of them locations that always is nice. It doesn't really matter what the conditions are. And like that, I have so many pictures of it as well. I never edit half of them even, but it's just such a nice spot just to even if you don't take a picture. But yeah, it just kind of has it all. And like that, there's still so many spots that I've kind of marked on a map or something like that I still want to visit. That I think will look great as well.
Yeah, how's your list actually? That you've got a big list of all the areas that you want to go to, and you've marked it out for the different seasons as well. So is there
Yeah,
places close by where you're living that you still kind of go, I'm still waiting for that right condition. I know the spot, just haven't got the right condition for it.
there's too many, and it seems to be growing by the day as well. You always drive around, you see something and add it onto the list, and still waiting for them conditions. Like I'd nearly want a year of fog to get to all the spots, and a year of clear skies to get all the Milky Way shots and all that. But that's kind of part of the fun as well, getting there and getting the right conditions. And
100%.
yeah,
I've only ever visited Pine Island, well, twice actually. Once it was both on the same trip actually. A friend of mine was getting married in Connemara, and as I was driving up to the wedding, I nearly crashed the car because the amount of flatness that I saw on all the lakes around me the whole way up to Connemara.
It's unbelievable when it's dead calm and just reflections everywhere from all the
Yeah.
lakes. Like it
Yeah,
feels like everywhere there's a picture. Like you can't get anywhere if you had the time to stop.
Yeah, that's the thing. And you see, I was going up there and I had the camera gear and everything with me because he said to me, will you take some pictures of it? Oh, geez, do I have to? Okay, I'll bring the camera gear with me. But I couldn't stop the car going up because, of course, I was late, underestimating the time it took me to get from Cork up to Connemara. But we went off and we did the wedding, whatever, and, a feast to drink that night. And the following morning, I just said, you know what? No, I'm going to go. And I waited around an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours. And all I was thinking was, okay, I need to obviously make sure my head is clear and that I have no alcohol for the driving point of view. But I was also keeping an eye. It was like, if that wind kicks up, now I'm going to miss what I wanted to take a photograph. And I was really hoping that, I'd have the flat water and everything else. So I came back down the road anyway, pulled over to the left-hand side, bang, water was flat. I was like, yeah, man, this is great. Went down, took the photograph, and I no sooner had taken the photograph that a wind picked up and the reflection was gone. And it was mad. So what I ended up doing actually is, and I rarely print any of my images, but I printed the image and I gave it to them as another wedding present because I
Nice.
took
Yeah.
it the morning after their wedding in Connemara. You know what I mean? But it was just, I loved it. It was magical. But it was too short for me. I mean, like you've mentioned there about, Milky Way, and I know I'll discuss that with you in the second part of the show, actually, in relation to Astro. But you've gotten a couple of shots with the Milky Way over there, haven't you?
Yeah, well, it's another one of them things that I never saw a picture of. So I set out to get one there. I think it was early last year. It's kind of about March, April time. And I did, a good bit of scouting and stuff like that, and went to the far side of it, all the way around to the other side, trying to get it from the back. But it ended up being just from the side that you park on, anyways. And I got it nicely arching over the
Nice.
thing, and it was like a 4 or 5 panel picture at 14 mil. So I got the mountains in and the whole Milky Way arch and all that. So that's the thing. Like, the
Nice.
more you are in an area, you kind of start thinking about these things or seeing them and getting stuff that someone that's kind of just there for a quick weekend or something mightn't have the chance to shoot, or mightn't even think of shooting. So it's nice to kind of have something like that, not too far away, that you're passing regularly and can try when you get the conditions, like clear skies or something like that, to try all them kind of things.
Do you know what? You're dead right too. I mean, the reality of the situation is, like, I got very, very lucky to have those conditions for that split second that I was there. But if you really want to get an image, you have to commit to saying, I'm going to have to go back there a number of times to get the right conditions. And I often have areas that I'd go to and I go, yeah, it's nice, but it's not exactly what I would have thought. You have to have the dedication, but also you have to know the area that you can get there quickly. Because if you know an area and it's close by, you're no longer trying to find the area. You're now waiting for the conditions. Whereas if you're going to an area for the first time, you're trying to find the area and you're also trying to match that up with the conditions. And 9 times out of 10, the conditions that you get aren't ideal. So, like, when you think about the list I mentioned a moment ago on the different areas as well that you have, like, I wonder, will you ever get to all those areas and get that right conditions? What percentage of your list do you think that you'll ever get to before you can no longer do the hikes in an old age point of view? Like, are you going to be, you know what, I'm going to do it, I'm going to commit to it, I'm going to make it happen?
No, I'd say if I get whatever 5%, it's more like nearly like ideas or something like that. Because you know the way it is, whatever, you head out some morning and you'll say, I'll just go out for a look and see what's happening, kind of thing. And next thing, there's this unbelievable fog or something like that.
Yeah.
We all love fog, so you have this unbelievable fog, and you turn into such a kind of a panic. And because it's foggy, you can't really see any trees or anything like that. So you're kind of sometimes nearly end up not shooting anything because you're either in such a panic or like that you can't find something to shoot, or you can't think of something to shoot. That's like that you don't shoot at all. Whereas with this kind of thing that I just did, like an Excel spreadsheet for the different spots and the different locations that I like to shoot at it, I can have a look at that and see, okay, yeah, I have a map kind of made out from it as well. Okay, I have this forest here where I know there's 2 or 3 spots that could be nice in the fog that I've kind of thought of before, or whatever. There's this waterfall that might look nice in the fog, kind of a thing. So I can just kind of be a bit more practical about it. If I do end up getting conditions that are nice or something that are special, instead of running around like a headless chicken and trying to find something that looks okay at the time, but when you think back, like, you think, oh, I should have shot this or that. So yeah, from the list, I don't think I'll ever get anywhere near to completing it, but it's more kind of like just a bit of an aid for shooting, or to kind of, when an idea pops into my head, just kind of put it on there. Like, whatever, we'll say, just if there's a storm the next time, I'd like to shoot this cliff or this lighthouse or whatever, so that when a storm does come with the right conditions, I can kind of have a quick glance over it and see, oh yeah, this might work now. So I just head out and try and get it. But like that, if it works or not is a completely different thing as well. And even though I might have a shot, I might still go back, or I wouldn't mark it off the list and say that's that done. I'll move on to the next thing. It's just kind of keep all the ideas somewhere on paper so you don't forget about them.
100%. And you know what? You're similar to me. I mean, you're an avid amateur photographer, so it's not something that you can go off and say, you know what, I think I'll go there on Thursday morning, because if you got to work, you can't do that. So you take every opportunity, I think, that you can get. But again, just like that, like you might say, okay, that's perfect. No, yeah, but I'm not going to mark it off the list, because I think if you mark it off the list, you're probably not going to go back there again. But do you think there's areas that, you photographed a number of times, you can't really finish with them because the area themselves is so nice? It's the conditions, as you say, just that perfect fog. You've got that tree, you want that tree to stand out, and you've got 70% fog. You want 80% fog, or you want 90% fog, or do you know what I mean?
You get too much fog then. That's the other thing. It's too much fog then, and you can't see the mountain in behind it. So you want 40% fog, or yeah.
We're never happy.
It's
in
never
the
100%
pursuit.
perfect. Yeah.
Never happy in the pursuit. Yeah. All right. Look, I'm going to take a first quick break there, Felix. Right. I'll be right back. I want to kind of learn more in relation to the other styles of photography, like the astro and your editing as well. So we'll be right back after this. If you're enjoying this episode of the Irish Photography Podcast, why not jump back and listen to the back catalogue we have of episodes, where you'll get some great insights from fantastic guests, gear reviews, lots of hints and tips, and above all else, keeping you company while you drive or relax. Thanks very much for listening. Please consider subscribing, leaving a review wherever you're listening to this podcast. You're very welcome back to the Irish Photography Podcast. So, Felix, I kind of want to get into a couple of interesting items here. And the first one is that in 2019, I think you quit your job, you went traveling, you went to Australia, you went to Asia. Tell us about that trip.
Yeah, it was kind of something I wanted to do for a while. Kind of do something while you're young, while you're still able to quit a job, no problem, and just go off traveling for a couple of months. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, like that, it was kind of planned for quite a while. So I saved up a bit of money to be able to just go travel with myself and my girlfriend, and not have to worry about the money or having to work somewhere, things, do little jobs. So yeah, we just saved up a good bit of money and then just kind of headed off traveling. We started in China, just because it was kind of a recommendation from someone, and there was a lot of planning to it, of getting visas and all that sort of thing. But it ended up being a stunning country landscape wise, but it was also quite tough as kind of the first one. So we're also happy then when we went to Japan. Then we were there for the Rugby World Cup.
Nice.
It was full of Irish people and all that, so it nearly felt like we were back in Ireland, which was nice. From there, we kind of travelled around through Asia and ended up being in Australia. Actually, probably just a bit more than 2 years ago, because it was just before Christmas.
Right.
So we arrived to Australia Christmas Eve. My girlfriend had some relations there. It was a bit unplanned, but we ended up being there for, I think, 3 months in the end, traveling all around it. So that was a stunning spot. But yeah, photography wasn't like anywhere on the list why we went. It was mainly just to go traveling and kind of see new places. But obviously, if you're into photography, you're going to bring the camera and you're going to make the most of it and get shots wherever you can and do whatever bits of research you can to find kind of nice locations. They're probably all like that, the touristy spots, because you don't have too much time anywhere to research too much or to kind of scout yourself. But yeah, obviously I'd say a good bit of shooting as well, because like that, you don't have a day job or anything like that. You just travel around looking at things and trying to find nice spots to look at and to shoot. So it was a bit of everything, like just culture, eating, photography. So yeah, I think I got a few all right shots, but yeah, it's just kind of tough as well to kind of get exactly what you want and to kind of edit them shots and all that kind of thing to get around to all that. But one day I'll get around to edit them all and plan to do like just a bit of a book or something like that, just to kind of think back about it.
Class. Yeah, class. Yeah. And I'd say it must be hard as well when the girlfriend is with you, like, and you kind of go, hang on there now for another 10 minutes. I think we're going to be a bit of light. And then it's 10 minutes past, it's turning into an hour. And she's like, come on, William. Like, yeah, 10 more minutes. Did you have that? Or was it a case of, all right, we're here, get the shot, and off we go to the next spot?
Yeah, of course, there's always that, but you just have to try and kind of get out on your own or get out early for sunrise when everyone else is still asleep and get the shot, or out in the nighttime. Get the Milky Way and things like that. So you just have to kind of try and find time on your own to get out if you want to shoot properly. Else, just know that if you're going out with someone, you can take a few shots, but it's probably not going to be as perfect or as long there as you kind of want to be.
And tell me, was that where you brought the GoPro and you started filming a lot of stuff, or was that before then?
No, that was the GoPro. The first one I got was like the Hero 2. I think that's probably 10 years ago or something like that.
All right, okay.
And I did a good bit, like I didn't have a normal, well, I said I didn't have a DSLR camera or anything like that. So I kind of brought that out and took videos of basically everything that I did in the outdoors and fishing and snowboarding, a lot of them things. I did have a GoPro with me as well traveling, but I did take a few videos, but I never really got time to edit it or really do anything with it. Although I did get some cool things, diving and things like that off Australia and Philippines and bits and pieces here and there, but I never got around to doing anything there.
Okay, and tell me, when you had the GoPro then, right, did you get it to try and take some photographs, or did you get it to have just documenting the different things that you were doing in the outside? Because the GoPro, I wouldn't imagine, would be a camera that you'd associate with stills. It's more from a video point of view.
Yeah, I don't think I took too many like that. I might have taken pictures underwater just because it's kind of the only thing possible
you could use,
to
yeah.
take pictures underwater. So I kind of thought it was kind of cool from that aspect. But it was mainly just videos, like just simple things from
Okay.
swimming and snorkeling. And then there was, I think it was one weekend or something like that, the internet was gone and I had nothing for doing all weekend. So I ended up editing all together and putting it into a video and throwing it up on
Nice.
YouTube. That
Nice.
must be, I was back in college then, it must be 7 or 8 years ago. Like, so that was kind of nice. But since then, I've never really got around to doing anything more than that. But like that, it was just little bits and snippets of videos of here and there and everywhere really. But I never really used it for pictures. It's not quite hard to take pictures with it, but the one there I had no screen on it. I have a bit of a newer one since, but it's still, compared to the ones that are currently out, it's still old and not great. But yeah, maybe the only thing might be the wide angle that you could kind of use.
Yeah, you know what? I mean, I've had a mixed relationship, to be honest with you, with GoPros. I've only ever had the GoPro just for filming point of view. But even on that, I've had a number of issues. I had the Hero 2 actually.
Yeah.
And I also now have the Hero 7. And I think it's up as far as the 10 now. And I have really no interest in it because it's handy for when you want it, no problem. But my love-hate relationship has been with the batteries on them because they kept freezing on me. Particularly even on the 7 more so. You'll be wanting to use it and all of a sudden it's just frozen. And the only way that you could reset it was to take the battery out. And if it's in the older versions, I suppose, which has the camera in the waterproof housing. Now, the one I have, it's waterproof, but it also has a housing so that you can put it onto a tripod. So the newer ones now have the little fold-down clips underneath it, which is very, very handy. But I found it really, really annoying because if you were anywhere that it's going to be wet, which is exactly the same reason that you'd have it, that you had it, that I'd have mine, is that you wouldn't want to be needing to worry about it if it got wet in the rain. You could put it into the water. I could film stuff under the water and stuff like that. But to try and having to open that up then and all that again, I was like, oh man, this is just better off not using it. Like, you know, they're great, but when they don't work, it wrecks my head.
Yeah, I have like a 3 and a 4 now, like, so they're very ancient as well. And like that, the battery life isn't great on them. So if they get cold, they only last a couple of minutes.
Yeah.
That, like you're saying, like you have to open up the housing, and if you're up in the mountains snowboarding or something like that, it's obviously not that easy, and it's pretty cold, so they go fairly quickly. And like that, I wasn't probably, or at the moment now, I rarely use them because I probably just concentrate more on the actual photography than doing little bits and videos here and there.
Yeah, with the big Z, take the Z out there and sure catch that properly, as opposed to the little dinky GoPro.
Yeah, well, sometimes I go out with the big D as well and get pictures with that.
Very good, very good. And tell me, let's have a chat about editing, right? Because, you know, your images that I've seen online over the last number of years, I think are really, really, really well edited. Is it something that you enjoy? Because you mentioned there, you know, you have a number of images from Australia that you still need to edit and such like that. Do you enjoy the editing process, or do you do it because you have to do it? Talk to me about your approach to editing?
Yeah, it's probably my least favorite part. I prefer to be out there taking the pictures and all that than editing them. I just find it hard to just sit down and edit them and kind of get them the way I want to, and even just find the motivation to like that sit down and edit them. I've hundreds of pictures that I think could work out well if they were edited, but I just can't seem to get myself just to sit down and edit them. At the moment now, I'm blaming it on the slow laptop.
Of course.
So like that, I have to get a new one. But yeah, even when it wasn't slow, I find it hard just to kind of like that take the time just to sit down and edit the picture the way I want it and all that. But
yeah, I mean, like, isn't it something? Isn't it something, right? Like, you know, you got so many different people that have different approaches to editing, right? So, like, some people go out and take a photograph for sunrise, and they come home, it's edited and up online by lunchtime. You have other people that will go out and take a photograph at sunrise, and they let it sit, they let it cook, they let it, you know, be there for a day, 2 days, a week, a month, 6 months. And I find that when I leave the image before even editing it for the first time, that it's like you're reliving that moment again. And if you really enjoyed that morning or afternoon or sunset, whatever it may be, you can almost feel what you felt that time when you were editing the image. So I always think it's a good thing to leave it later because you can kind of relive that. But on the other side to that, when you edit an image, and I'm sure you've done this too, you know, you'll edit an image and you'll go, okay, yeah, I'm done with that now. And you might go off and you might go to bed or whatever, and you pick it back up the following morning, you go, Jesus, what was I thinking? Or I didn't spot this, or I went down a different route. Do you find you have that, or do you just get it banged out in one go?
no, I'd be even slower than what you described there. Like I might let it sit like that. I'd say a couple of months, maybe even longer, because I think you just get a bit more of a kind of, I don't know, just a different view on it than when you're out and you're all excited from shooting it and having a great morning and all that. And maybe even if you're up for sunrise or up for Milky Way, you might be still a bit tired. And if you go to edit, then I feel like you don't have that objective view on it where you still have that experience and that excitement and all that. And you might miss things that you'd otherwise see like that. Maybe there's something out of place, or there's the colors just aren't right on it. Or even like the composition mightn't be great, but maybe if you're excited about the day, you might still edit it and think it's great. And then whatever, post it up, and you might come back to it a week later or a month later and think, oh, what was I thinking there? Like, whereas if you let it sit for a couple of weeks or months, sometimes even like with that wave picture from Doolin, for some reason I kind of edited that 2 or 3 weeks later, but I had it sitting there for a while and I kind of knew what I wanted to do with it. I'd let it sit for a while and then kind of edit it. And even then, once I feel like I'm done, I move it to a different folder in Lightroom. I've like a few different collections there of ones that I want to edit and ones that I just want to let it sit for a while. Maybe sometimes I might come back a day later and see something I might want to change, or sometimes let it sit for a week or even 2 or 3 weeks, maybe a month. Or sometimes even just put it on my phone and just kind of, the more you see it and look at it, you might notice things that you can improve on it, and really take it as long as needed, or as long, sometimes probably even longer, before editing it or before posting it or anything else. Kind of getting a real objective view on it, and that's kind of my approach to it anyways.
And you know what? I think it's a very good approach to it, because like you can see a lot of people out there that will rush an image, and you know that it's been rushed because they might be in a race to get it out there or whatever it might be. But like, you'll see small little things that you might have missed the first time when you let it cook. And that's when I think that, you know, you will probably get the most out of the image. But even there now, as you say, with your own image, you took that in the winter time of last year, and we're in a competition which was in June. So, I mean, if you had probably edited that and banged it out straight away, you probably wouldn't have thought about it a bit more. So I think, is it a good thing to even go back to images later on, because you might find a nugget that you missed if you rush through it.
That as well, yeah. Or even just like while you're editing, give it, when you're finished with it, even just leave it there for 10, 15, 20 minutes, go away, do something else, and then come back to it, because sometimes like your eyes just kind of get so used to an image that they miss certain things that like that, if you come back 20 minutes, you spot straight away, and you're thinking, geez, what was I thinking there a few minutes ago? So yeah, I think it's good just to let it sit, and like that, your style kind of changes as well, I think. So like that, maybe someday you might be feeling something and you think it's great, whereas your style might be kind of changing a different way. So if you came back to it 2 or 3 weeks later, you might like another image out of a shoot that you're at, and might kind
Yeah,
of bring your overall style a bit more together than if you just kind of shoot or just edit and post the one that you like on a certain day.
I fully agree with you. And one example actually that I know from my own point of view is from seascapes. So if I'm out and I'm taking some images of waves, I'm typically, I'm brimming my memory cards because I'm on high speed continuous constantly, because every single wave is going to be different. And I might tune into something I was looking for at that time of a particular wave hitting a particular rock. And I might, look over other ones because I'm looking and just focusing in on this one particular thing that I'm looking for. And I've often gone back over images and gone, how did I pass that up? But in actual fact, I passed it up because I was only looking for the wave breaking on the rock in the front. I wasn't even looking at the wave that's breaking in the rock in the background.
Yeah.
And coming back to it later afterwards. And as you say, your editing style will constantly evolve. And I think that's something which I really recommend people to do, is to go back over images that you've edited a year ago and see how you'd edit it today. And like, some people can do that by default. I mean, I know Bernard is an example, and similar to you and possibly me as well at times, that, an image could sit in my hard drive for months and months and months, and then I'll pick it up and I'll edit it. But when you've already edited the image a year ago, you're in a bias which has been, cultivated up as far as that point. But since then, there's been other influences and other ways that you've gone your editing, and you might end up with a completely different image. And like, editing an image, I think, is very much so akin to your own personal taste and your own personal style. Well, it should be anyway, unless people are editing to copy somebody else, let's just say. And like, I did a thing recently, I don't know if you saw it or not, on YouTube, where I had one raw file, and I had people edit that raw file. And it was amazing, that one image, the amount of different versions and iterations that came out from that one raw file. So it can be the same from our own images, do you think?
Definitely, yeah. Even what you mentioned there with seeing something different, I probably would like that. I'd load the memory card onto the hard drive probably once a week or something like that, or after shooting, and just have a quick look through the images. And like you're saying there might be, because you were just concentrating on one wave, you might see something else or some different. You kind of think, oh, I wish I would have done this in the composition, or I would have just went a little bit more right, or something like that. So sometimes you mightn't have the chance to go back, but other times you might be back there in a week or 2 weeks, and you have that kind of knowledge from the last time you were there, and you kind of spotted something last time that you were there that you can kind of implement the next time. So like that, I do leave it quite a while before editing, but I might have a look at it quite recently, just to kind of get a view of what I got. Was kind of worth it to go back again, or did I get good conditions, or what I would have done differently. So then,
And lucky you, you've got so many amazing locations not far from where you are as well, that you can go back there with ease. Whereas other people, think about it. If somebody comes to Ireland on holidays, or even on a photography trip, they get one shot, pardon the pun, but they get one shot at a location for those conditions that are there. But as you say, like, you might look at that and go, I should have gone 6 inches to the left or 6 inches to the right. You can go back and you can recompose that image again if it's somewhere that's close by, and you've got some banging areas around you to be able to do that as well. So it's a nice luxury to have where you're living, I think, to be able to have that, as opposed to, let's say you go to the Faroes or whatever it might be. You might be there for 5 or 6 days. You might be in one spot twice, maybe, if once at all. And then you come home, and there's nothing worse than going, damn it, I should have gone this way. So
yeah,
I think it's always good to kind of play around when you're there. Like, don't camp on the one composition, make some little tweaks and changes, because you never know. Like 6 months down the line, when you're re-editing that, you won't be able to fix that,
Yeah, it always looks different on the screen, or on your computer screen, on the bigger one, compared to the back of the camera.
Yeah.
But like you're saying there, even if you are somewhere for just 1 or 2 days, if you even do get the chance, you might spot something after the first time shooting there that might improve the picture big time for the next time that you're there, even if it is in the next morning or in a year's time or 2 years' time. you might just kind of spot something then that you didn't see while you were there on location.
Absolutely. Okay, so I want to kind of switch speeds now for a second, and I want to talk to you about nighttime. So you alluded to there a moment ago, which is actually relevant to what we're talking about having tired eyes and stuff like that. So astro. Obviously, you're a fan of astro. Tell me what you enjoy most about astrophotography.
I think it's just kind of getting out there and seeing things, like I said earlier, that you wouldn't normally see, or even that a lot of people wouldn't see. Just kind of being out there, either it might be whatever, a real calm night, and you just see all the stars above you. It's just kind of spectacular to see. We're quite lucky, I think, here in Ireland, where we still have reasonably dark skies. I know there's obviously in the cities that's not great, but I think so many people never really kind of witness the proper dark night sky the way you see it when it's properly dark and away from the city. So I think it's just kind of amazing to see, but then it's also obviously great to capture that with the camera. The camera can kind of pick up a bit more light than your eyes, so there's even a few little extra things that you can kind of pick up. And just being out there and seeing that and kind of realizing that these stars are hundreds of thousands, millions of kilometers away. Some of them, whatever the picture that you see or the light that you see is a couple of million years old, kind of a thing. You're looking back in time, seeing the light that's kind of coming in from the stars. And just usually when you can, if it's quiet out, it's obviously just amazing being out at nighttime.
Big time. And you know what? You've hit a couple of things there, really, Felix, right? That like people that live in a city can look up and they can see some stars. People that live in the countryside and look up, they see lots of stars. But you put a camera there and you can see even more stars. I mean, you can see into galaxies. I mean, Cian Ryan has just gotten his Sony modified there now as a hydrogen modification, and he can get ridiculous high ISO with zero noise. And even looking at what comes out on nebulas. I mean, all of that is there. We can't see it with our eyes, but the camera can do that. And I love that about astro because, you know, you look at it and, okay, the lay person is, that has to be fake. But, okay, we know it's not fake. But that's the natural default that people can have when they see, how come I can't see that with my eyes? Or how come I can't do that with my camera?
But even like when you go out and like that, just say if you're living out in the countryside, way away from the city, and you come out of the house and you look up and you see a good lot of stars or a lot of stars, even if you turn off all the lights and just look at the stars for half an hour, your eyes still adjust. I think it's up to half an hour. So if you've been in the dark for the half an hour, you even see more stars than that. So I think like a lot of people wouldn't even take the time to spend that long to look at the stars. So their eyes never fully adjust. So you do see quite a good bit. Like once you kind of, your eyes are adjusted, still obviously not as much as the camera, but even that, like, it's just amazing. There always seems to be meteors about as well when you start looking up, and satellites and all that. It's just kind of so vast. You don't even really know where to start. Like you're saying there with the deep space, like it's just a whole nother world altogether. It's nearly too much for me. The amount of,
me too.
the amount of the proper deep sky stuff where they have big telescopes on trackers and whatever, they take whatever 8 hours of data for just whatever the red part of it, and then the other parts of it like that, they'd spend 40-50 hours just taking the images and stacking them together. I'd be spending years and putting them together on the laptop, like, so it's kind of,
especially at the rate you edit the images, you might get them done in 6 years by the
I
time
know.
you get through them all. And you know, it's interesting you say it there, the deep space. I did a podcast with Adrian Modi, and he is phenomenal. He's shooting the stars at 135 mil, and I'm blown away by the level of detail that he has in the images and such like that. And I mean, you're right. You know, it's a whole, pardon the pun again, it's a whole different world per se. It's a whole different, you know, universe. It is, but you know, the stuff there that we would never even think is possible when you start looking at the different nebulas and the different colors that are within that. Number one, to do it, but number two, to have the ability to not only to take that image, to put that image together, but the patience to do that as well, knowing that what's going to come at the very end of that to me is hats off if somebody does that, you know.
No, it's too much for me, so I'm not even going to think about you know, like with photography, there's always, you know, you can get a bit of a better lens and go a bit more that direction. But I think with the deep space stuff, you just have to do it right or not at all.
Absolutely. And, you know, speaking of deep space, you got Comet Neowise, I believe, last year, did you?
Yeah, I got a couple of images of it. I like that. I wasn't expecting too much, but I just went out after seeing a couple of images and tried to get it over Galway and got that, and then a few more bits and pieces over the cliffs of Moher. And actually, the picture I have of the Milky Way with the cottage there in Connemara,
Mm-hmm.
you might know it. There was
I do.
Neowise behind me there, but I ended up not even shooting it because I had that other scene in front of me with the Milky Way.
Wow.
So
Wow.
we got 3 clear nights, and it was during whatever just after the lockdown, so I wasn't working. So I had the time to go out and shoot it for as long as I could. And I got the 3 clear nights that we got up here anyways. I was out shooting.
Lucky you.
Yeah.
I wanted to get out and shoot it actually, but I didn't even see the shagging thing. I was like, I was at home. I couldn't go anywhere. I've got, you know, ambient lighting all around me. I know
Yeah.
it was pretty low in the sky, wasn't it?
So yeah, it takes your eyes a kind of while to adjust to it. And then even when you're kind of focused on that area, you couldn't really see it properly. You could just nearly see it out of the corner of your eye. But then yeah, with the camera, you could see it perfectly on the back of the camera, like, so that kind of helped. And the one
And
night then there was amazing Noctilucan clouds as well. So that was cool to see as well.
yeah. Geez, you're spoiled. Like knocked loose in clouds with Neowise and everything else all in the one frame.
Yeah. I got slated by the lads because I was telling them they're just fancy cirrus clouds, but after that night now they were nice cirrus clouds, but
There were serious clouds up in the sky that
they
night,
were.
boy. And are you chasing Leonard as well now? Yeah.
I don't know. I took some shots there Sunday morning before he's up before sunrise at the moment now, and then I think it's after sunset. I think from next week on, and
Right.
I was out, we'll say Saturday night, Sunday morning, just behind the house there, and I got some shots of it, but it's not half as impressive as Neowise, like, so it is kind of, it's all right, but it's nothing too special, I find, because you need a long lens and ideally track it as well. I got some
Right.
pictures of it, like I think it's 300 mil tracked and stacked and cropped and everything like that. I can send that on to you, but it looks nice in the picture, but like that, you can't see anything with your eyes, and even with the camera, it's quite faint, and you have to know where exactly to point it and all that. But it's meant to get brighter now. I think the 12th or something. It's brightest.
Peak, isn't it? Yeah, the 12th. Yeah. So like this podcast now will be out and people will be listening, I suppose, prior to the 12th. So yeah, tell people, you know, where do they need to look, or do you know where? Do you presume you do? Where do they need to look to be able to see it?
Yeah, it's kind of east. It kind of starts off at the start of the night. I think it's up from like 2 or 3 o'clock, and then it's kind of starts in the northeast, moves around to kind of, we'll say, the southeast. So you're kind of looking before sunrise in the direction of sunrise. And it's kind of like about, I think, 20-30 degrees up the way. So it's not too high either, but it's not too low off the horizon. And yeah, probably ideally go at it with maybe like 100 mil lens, something around that, and point to that direction, and do whatever 15-second exposure. Even if the stars start streaking, you might see like a little green, bluish little dot and dash. And that's it. I think then towards the eventime, it's more towards the northwest. But the best thing is to just download like an app. There's some stuff like Skywalker or Stellarium, and then in the search panel, just type in the Leonard, and it comes up. It shows you where it is, and you can scroll through the time to get a better idea of it.
Hopefully we have clear skies.
That's the other thing, yeah.
You know,
if there's
that's
cloudy,
the thing about
definitely
that.
won't see it.
No, you won't. And I think, as you say there, I mean, you know, with the degrees and the height, you might be able to get it with a nice foreground as well, I imagine. So, or you won't probably be difficult with the 100 mil. You want to be pretty far back from your foreground to be able to get it there. So, over a lighthouse or something like that, would it work?
Exactly, yeah, like that. I'd say nearly you'd want to be at the moment like minimum 100 mil, but ideally a bit more to get it a bit bigger in the image. So I think it is doable. Like, especially like you said, it's close to the horizon. If the horizon is nice and clear, but at the same time, it's quite tricky as well because it's not too bright, so it'll be quite faint in the picture. And obviously, you could instead of, if you don't have a tracker, you can just take loads of images and then stack it in different programs. Like the one I did the last day, I just stacked it manually. It was only 10 pictures or something like that, so I just moved them onto the same thing in Photoshop and done like a smart object and a mean, which cancels out all the noise. So you can shoot at whatever ISO 8000 and the image looks fine then at the end of it.
And you're a tracked and stacked guy, so you are?
No, it just depends on whatever. Depends on how difficult or how easy it is as well. I have some shots there from the cliffs, and you have to see the North Star. So if you can't see the North Star, you can't stack. So then just tracked it. And then normally when I do track, I don't stack it. Then I just use the one image, which feels like it does me as well. So it just always depends on the situation. Like that, when I was doing the pano over Derry Clare, I was just doing the pano. I wasn't stacking. Sorry, I was tracking, but I wasn't stacking. And then I did a few where just did the stacking separately, just in case the tracking didn't work out. And you never know, it could work or it couldn't work. So I always try and keep it on the safe side as well.
Yeah, you're better off to have those raws in case you do need them rather than be looking for them afterwards. And
exactly.
I went out one evening with Mick Snap and Cian,
Yeah.
and I was blown away by the whole tracker. And I said to the lads, I was like, Jesus, you know what? I'd love to get this. But I mean, I don't shoot astro as often as I'd like to, number one. And I suppose as I possibly can, I suppose, in my ability to be able to do it. But I'm sure it's something that, if I ever did go down that route, if I had time that I could go out in the night and stuff like that, it is a game changer to have the tracker. I mean, it's, as you say, you get it all in the one file. You can set it up, but the problem is that you have to be able to see the North Star. So without that, you can't use a tracker, yeah?
Yeah, well, there is other ways about it. There's little things, gauges on it that you can basically set your whatever degree you're at on Earth. So you can set that in, and then your latitude, and then you can also put in, if you have your phone or whatever, a compass on that, you can point that north, and that's basically it's set up as well.
Okay.
So even the one I have now, it's just a little mechanical one. So you wind it up like an egg timer, and it runs for 60 minutes. And ideally, like it's for whatever your 14 mil or your 24 mil or 35 mil, kind of more wide angle shots of the Milky Way, which is like, it's good for that. It's nice and light. You can carry it in the bag. But then again, like you can get shots at 300 mil, like I did at the weekend there, if you really line it up perfectly. But I kind of nearly feel like the tracking nearly takes some of the fun out of it, because if you're just shooting whatever, we'll say the Milky Way behind a lighthouse or something like that, you kind of have to be there right at the right spot and line it up perfectly. Whereas with the tracker, what I think the best thing to do is nearly shoot the foreground, as in the lighthouse and the foreground, separately, and then kind of move out of the way then and get a picture of the stars tracked. And then obviously the foreground would be blurry, so that's why you kind of move out of the way and then blend them together in Photoshop afterwards. And I nearly feel like that takes a bit of the fun out of it, because like that, it is lined up, but at the same time it just kind of nearly feels not fake, but it nearly feels like a bit of cheating or something like that.
It's too not too perfect, but too precise, if you kind of
exactly. It kind of takes the bit of the fun out of it. Like when you take a picture of it, we'll say normally you kind of see the image on the back of the screen and you kind of get excited about that. Whereas when you're stacked, you kind of see the one image of the lighthouse and the long exposure with the stars in behind it are streaked, because you're kind of doing low ISO long exposure, and then you see another image of just the stars and you have to blend them the lighthouse in on top of it. So it's just not quite the same, I feel. So that's why I kind of do a combination of the two as well, depending on what I'm shooting exactly. And
class. Well, you know what? Some phenomenal tips there, I think, Felix, from the astro point of view, and I hope that you do get some clear skies, that you can get out and capture some images of Leonard as well. I mean, look, I've seen your images of Neowise, even like the image you took there behind the lighthouse is an incredible, beautiful shot. So hopefully you'll be able to get some images now of this fella with a
Yeah,
nice bit of green as well,
I haven't
which
been
is
able to
interesting.
think of anything that I'd be able to line up with it yet properly, but now seeing as I got one shot of it, I have a kind of rough idea what it looks like and what direction and all that. Maybe
So
try and plan somewhere, but yeah, I'm
watch this space.
finding it tough at the moment to think of somewhere to shoot it.
I'm sure now you'll find one or two areas now you have a plethora of them around to be able to choose from. Even Derry Clare might do it for you, would it?
That's kind of more north. You'd kind of
Is
want
it?
something south, and then you have to get away from it far enough to go at it with whatever the 100 mil or 200 mil kind of a thing, and needs to be up a bit. But like that, I'll keep it in the back of the head, and hopefully I'll find somewhere to shoot it, and we get a clear night.
Down to Cork, down to Gallyhead Lighthouse.
That's it. You're always sorted down there in Cork for the Milky Way and all that along the south coast.
Yeah, it is nice, right? In fairness, and I think we kind of take it for granted. I think, to be honest with you, because again, as we say, what you need is clear skies, and the forecasters in Ireland, I think, have the easiest job in the world, which is cloudy, chance of rain.
Exactly, and even when it's fully clear, predicted fully clear, you can never be safe enough to actually get that fully clear. There's been times where all the apps have said it's clear for all night, and then you get there and it's just cloudy the whole night. And you wonder how they're so wrong.
Absolutely. All right. So the next thing I want to talk to you about is your calendar. So I think this is the second calendar that you've done. You did one for 2021, and now you've also just released one for 2022. And I mean, Felix, looking at the images that you've selected for this calendar, it is beautiful. I mean, you've got such a range. You've got Connemara, you've got Mayo, you've got Galway, you've got Donegal, you have Cathedral Rock down in Kerry, you've got Pine Island, you've got more from Mayo, you've got the Cliffs of Moher, and you also have the winning image as well as December for 2022. So, number one, congratulations on a phenomenal looking calendar. Number two, tell me, how did you manage to put the whole thing together, and how was it? Was it difficult picking images?
Yeah, thanks. So no, it's not even the second one. It's probably the fifth or sixth.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
You probably only saw the 20 or
21 and
2021.
22 is ones I could see. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this, okay. So you're a dab hand at doing them. So okay, go on. How easy was it to put this one together?
It's not too bad now because I'm kind of in the swing of things. I did take a break when I was traveling. Obviously, I didn't get around to doing it, so I did it before that. And I was over in the UK. I was living over there, so I got it through a company there. And other times like that, it's only been a handful. So it started off 4 or 5 years ago. It was a handy Christmas present for the mother, we'll say, and the grannies.
Nice. Yeah.
And then they liked it, and other people wanted one and stuff like that. So it just kind of snowballed from there.
Mm-hmm.
So like that, now I kind of put one out whenever I can, like that every year, hopefully, if I'm not away traveling. So yeah, just kind of at the moment now, where once you kind of, the difficult thing is trying to pick the images to put into it, because you're always thinking, well, that one would be nice, or that one, and trying to pick the 12 or 13 images with the cover to put into it is more the hardest thing about it at this stage. Putting it together then is the handy bit. So yeah, try and kind of choose a few images that kind of were taken around that time, and just kind of from the last year that I've edited, and the last year, we'll say, just to kind of make it kind of cohesive with the months and all that, and like that, have the wintry ones and the winter months, and the summery ones for the summer months and all that.
It's bang on, man. It's okay. I'm looking at the images here now as we talk, and I mean, even looking from image to image, they're stunning. I mean, like the one we've been speaking about there, getting the Milky Way over Pine Island, that's there. We have the image that we said a moment ago, which was the award-winning image. We've got a beautiful photograph here, which I think is November, which is the Cliffs of Moher in fog.
Yeah, no, I haven't even posted that on Instagram or Facebook or anywhere like that. So I always kind of keep a few special ones in there as well, and like that, you can just see them on the screen now, but obviously printed, it looks great as well. They're nice and big, kind of A3.
Oh, no doubt.
So it looks great in person as well.
Yeah, and look, the one that I like, I mean, I've visited there as well, is in Cathedral Rock in Dingle. I mean, Dingle is probably my favorite place to go take photographs, because you've got so much in such a small area. And I often well, not often, for many years, I wanted to get out to see Cathedral Rock and to see it at sunset. And when I got the opportunity to get out to do it with Bernard, it blew me away. And I mean, if anybody hasn't seen this formation of rocks that we have off the coast, it is incredible to witness. But your image with the sunburst just on the right hand side, captured from a boat, is unreal, man.
Yeah, I think the Bernard did 3 trips out there, and he always seemed to get something different. And like that, the first crowd, I think they got the light beam kind of coming through, and the mist coming off the water, the sea spray. And the second one, I think that was the one you were on. They got the colourful sky.
Yeah.
And then so you're kind of thinking, oh, the last 2 times they got these great things with the sun breaking through and this colourful sky. Like, you know, hopefully we'll get something decent. And like that, it wasn't looking great for a while, but then eventually kind of the sun popped down, and the boatman then was unreal as well. He knew exactly what to do and how to move the boat to get us right there.
Yeah. Cullum, I think, was the guy who was the captain of the ship that day we were out there. And exactly that. Will I go forward a bit, back a bit? You know, he's moving the boat by inches, like just to make sure
the
he can get
swell
it
going
lined
up and down and back and over. And the day we were there was a storm about to hit, I think, the next day. So there was so many birds. They were all flying around, getting in off the sea. It was just incredible to see.
Unreal. So tell me, where can they still get this calendar? Are you sold out? Is it available? Where can people get
I'm
the
nearly
calendar?
sold out. Yeah, I have a handful of them left. So the best thing is just to message me, and I can just post them out to you then. So just send me a message through everywhere, my Instagram, Facebook, or website kind of a thing. And I'm not gonna. Last year now, they were sold out within the first 2 days, so I ended up ordering more. But I don't think I'll order more this year now because it's a bit of hassle, and coming up to Christmas now, I'd say could be a bit tight. So as they say, once they're gone, they're gone.
When they're gone, they're gone. Yeah, I mean, look, I'll get all your links and everything anyway from where people can reach out and message you and get a copy of this calendar. I think anybody that would purchase this would be absolutely delighted to have it, because you've such a beautiful array of images. So yeah, well done on that.
Thanks.
And we'll get all the links and everything else at the end, and I'll also put them into the show notes. Okay. Felix, I've one question now for you before I go for my final break. And it's a new question, and it's a question that I've only asked a couple of people so far in the podcast, but I'm going to ask it to people now going forward. So I'm going to ask you the same question. Is it the photographer that creates the image, or is it the scene that presents itself?
Geez, that's a tough one. I'd say it's a bit of both, because like that, there's been spots that I've been to. I'll just use myself as an example and say there's been spots that I've been to where I thought like that, especially I think forests are quite hard for it, where you think, geez, there's nothing here, or nothing really stands out, and next thing like that, the light comes in a certain way and it just catches your eye, or that just basically points something out to you, it feels like. And like that, so the scene kind of presented itself there nearly. But then other times it's kind of the photographer as well. So like that, you could be out shooting, and whatever, you might be out shooting with a friend, we'll say, and you're going around and the light isn't great and you don't really see anything, so you don't take a picture. Whereas your buddy, he spotted something and he took a lovely picture of it. So then it wasn't really the scene presenting itself, as more like the photographer making the scene or spotting the scene and taking it. So I think it's a bit of both, and it kind of depends on the situation as well.
It does. And, I've thought about this question, I suppose, a number of times over the years. And the one that kind of strikes me on it is that you could be sitting there for hours waiting for the right light.
Yeah.
And you may not get that image. I could rock up, get out of my car, get my phone out of my pocket, take the image as the light kicks off just at that point. So the scene presented itself to me. I got the image. But you as the photographer, you were there waiting to get that image. And you had the perseverance and the foresight to be able to plan an image. And then all of a sudden the conditions which you planned happened. But then somebody else can rock up and get the same image. And I think that's where I kind of find it's in between the two, because like you can have a beautiful vista that anybody could get a photograph, let's just say, or you could have an area that it's not exactly clear that there's an image here, but then the photographer creates the image from that scene, whereas somebody who hadn't got that compositional eye wouldn't be able to see that image, So I think you're right in the way that it's in between both. And I'm just wondering, would you lean more of the photographer, or would you lean more towards the scene?
I'd probably lean more towards the photographer, especially now, like the kind of, kind of the small scenes and kind of like the intimate scenes are getting quite popular, which kind of encompasses a lot more of that. You're having a lot less kind of that beautiful light, that beautiful colored sky or stuff like that. Whereas you're kind of focusing in on details, which like that hundreds of people could walk by and not spot. Whereas the photographer kind of looking for something unique, is whatever patterns or something that stands out, is kind of creating the scene, and there's nothing to do with the scene kind of presenting itself, whereas you have to look quite hard to see it or to find it.
No, bang on, man, bang on. Okay, and on that bombshell, we'll take our last break. I'll come back. I've got 3 questions I ask every guest. I'm looking forward to your answers. So yeah, we'll be right back after this. If you're enjoying this episode of the Irish Photography Podcast, why not jump back and listen to the back catalogue we have of episodes, where you'll get some great insights from fantastic guests, gear reviews, lots of hints and tips, and above all else, keeping you company while you drive or relax. Thanks very much for listening. Please consider subscribing, leaving a review wherever you're listening to this podcast. You're very welcome back to the final part of the Irish Photography Podcast. So, Felix, like I said, I got 3 questions to ask all my guests. And the first question is a funny photography story. What's yours?
Jeez, I'd have to think about it now. There's been a few good ones now.
Keep it clean now.
Especially,
Bet it involves Milo.
They're not clean, so I can't mention any of them. Sorry. You're lucky, Milo. No, sure, yourself when you're out with Bernard and the lads, there's always something funny happening.
Absolutely.
But I think one in particular time was we were heading down to Dingle. It was back in the day now when Johnny Beard was still photographing.
Who? That fella? I remember him. That's a blast from the past.
So for the younger listeners, look up Johnny Beard. Great photographer, but we don't know what happened to him now. He's got swallowed up by the earth or something. But myself and Bernard and Johnny were on the way down to Dingle, and we're meeting some of the lads down there, and like that we're all giddy on the way down and looking forward to, I think it was a long weekend down there. We didn't really have too much of a plan, like we're just heading down to Dingle or down to Kerry in general, and we're thinking of heading up Carntoohil for camping up there or heading to the coast or whatever. And anyways, myself and Bernard, we convinced Johnny that there was a webcam up on top of Carntoohil, and he spent the rest of the way down then looking for this webcam of Carntoohil, and the two of us, laughing our holes off then going down the road, and Johnny like, oh yeah, look, I have it here, like, and just Google it, like, and stuff. It was some laugh going down the road, and Johnny pure confused about the webcam up on Carntoohil, and myself and Bernard could hardly hold it together.
And you had to climb up to the top just so he could make sure that it was there, is it?
No, we're telling it's up on top of the cross there. Like, it must be down now at the moment, or the internet's not working, or something's gone wrong. But it's definitely there.
Charge the battery in the top of it there.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Poor old Johnny, taking the piss out of him on the whole way down there. But you know what? Yeah, I it's interesting you mentioned. I mean, there's a name from the past now. I mean, he's a phenomenal guy and phenomenal photographer.
Yeah.
And I think hopefully he gets back into the swing now, getting back out. Maybe
he's actually
maybe
gone into the deep space stuff. That's we were talking about earlier. Yeah, so like that you can do it from home as well. So that's handy. You don't have to travel too far.
Yeah, and I like how you say for the younger listeners, there's a once upon a time there was a guy, and his name was Johnny Baird. Yeah, so no, I think brilliant. Yeah, okay, and I can just imagine the two of you as well, skitting the whole way down in the car.
Yeah, we were down in Bernard's camper, so we're all sitting in the front, Joe, and the transporter, the 3 seats in the front, and the 3 of us there, like.
Brilliant. Yeah. Okay, the next question I have is, what gear do you use? So I know that you're a Nikon shooter. So tell me, what's in your bag?
Yeah, so like I was saying earlier, I got the Nikon Z7 II. So yeah, that's just an amazing camera.
Which was handy. That was handy.
It was handy. I wouldn't be getting it otherwise. But yeah, seeing as I have it. And I won that with the 24-70 f2.8, which is nice for shooting astro as well. Like, to have that
Absolutely, yeah.
that f2.8. Then also the other one I use a lot for astro as well is the wide angle, which is the 14 to 24 f2.8 Sigma.
Sigma.
So I was kind of at the time thinking I was between the Sigma and the Nikon, but the Sigma was a good bit newer than the older. I think that Nikon 14 to 24, the old one anyways for the DSLRs, I think must be
gotcha.
15 years old or something like that. It's a beast of a lens, but
vintage, yeah.
They have the Z one out now, and then I have the 100 to 400 Tamron. Is it f4 to 6 or something like that, or 6.4?
Nice lens.
Kind of a nice little zoom there. It's not too heavy. I can still bring it up the mountains and wherever. And I also have a 50mm f1.4. I don't use it too often, but there's every now and again it kind of comes in handy. I think one of the
nifty 50.
One of the main things I actually use it for is for capturing the light rays on the lighthouse at night. You kind of see them moving around, so you need a quick shutter speed, and obviously at night then it's quite hard to get that. So the f1.4 comes in nicely for that.
Sweet. And what tripod do you use?
I just have a normal old Manfrotto, the one that
no Benro,
no.
Jesus, Bernard, come on, like, you know what I mean? You want to twist the arm there a bit there and get the old Benro into Felix's hands.
No, I'm still happy out with the Manfrotto now. Not that I take any good care of it or anything like that, but yeah, I do have a different ball head on it though, because I have the L bracket. I have is it Surrey or something like that, or Surrey?
Oh yeah,
ball head.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
That's grand. Like, and I have a little travel tripod as well, which is handy for hiking or for traveling.
Well, do you know what? The Manfrotto tripods, as you say, I mean, they're great because you control them around the place, and they're designed to be used. But it's interesting you say you have different ball head, because that's the one thing that annoyed me about the Manfrotto is the Manfrotto uniqueness on the plate.
Yeah.
You can't use an Arca Swiss, and even if you've got the L bracket, you can't use that either. So I have a Manfrotto ball head as well that I ended up having take off the Manfrotto piece on the top, whatever that part is called, and actually fusing an Arca Swiss plate onto the top of it.
Yeah, I did
that
the
I
same
could use
with my travel one, because I wasn't going to buy a new ball head, so I was able to change that. And it works
absolutely.
fine.
Yeah. And what bag do you use? What do you keep it all in?
I have the f-stop bag, so I was actually have that now for a couple of years. I haven't jumped on the bandwagon there.
Not yet.
I started the bandwagon, we'll say, because they're expensive to buy, like, so it was quite a big investment, especially like if you're only kind of getting into photography.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd say they're fully worth it. Like, I brought two of them traveling. I had the bigger one as like your kind of check-in luggage, and I had the smaller one then to bring the gear on the plane, and it's just handy like that. You can have the thing to pull out, and if you have to check that bag in, you can take your camera out, or you can use it as an extra bag, and you can swap around the camera between the two, the insert and all that. So
they were the first, I think, to invent the ICU, which is the internal camera unit.
Yeah, that's the handy
they were the first to do that, weren't they?
I think so, anyways, because at the time I was looking for like a bag that I could bring hiking as well, and have the camera gear in. And most of the camera bags at the time, like let's say 7 or 8 years ago, they looked like a typical camera bag and just about fit the camera into. So yeah, I ended up going with the f-stop, and even there after traveling, like last year sometime, the zip broke on my bigger one, on my Tilapia, and I messaged them saying, is there anything, where I could get it fixed or anything like that, and they sent me out a new one. So it's like a 20-year guarantee on it, which is class, I think.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. So you were all shiny as well. So when you went back out, throw down a bit of dirt to make it used again, did you?
I haven't actually used it too much. That's the bigger one, so I just use it usually for camping because it fits all the camping gear. Else traveling, it's handy as well because it counts as whatever. You can put it in as the overhead compartment on the plane.
Yeah.
But it's still big enough to kind of go away for a weekend. But sure, yeah, I haven't done too much of that lately. So it's not too bad.
We're into the winter now, you'll be back out and you'll be freezing your nuts off in the middle of the darkness. You'll have your bag, you'll be using it with all your camping gear and everything else as well.
Yeah, settled in for the night.
Exactly. Okay. And the last question then is our VSP. So it's a very solid product you won't leave home without. You'd put your name to it if you could. What's yours?
I'd have to go probably with the rain gear and waterproof boots.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, it's not really camera gear, but yeah, it
Vitally
doesn't
important
matter.
though.
Doesn't matter like this time of year how clear it is. I'd always kind of have it in the bag because it always seems to have a shower out of nowhere. And obviously, if you're wet, you can't really, or you can still shoot, but it's just not as comfortable, and you mightn't stay out as long. Whereas if you have the wet gear on, like, and you don't mind, it can be piss and rain or wind and everything like that, especially if you're at the coast, you're just kind of you're happy out there, and you can just shoot all day, really.
And what's the waterproof gear? Is it the Berghaus pants?
No, I have Patagonia pants and a Berghaus jacket, but
Okay.
yeah, they're
Okay. And the boots?
the boots. I have Selwa ones. They're just like kind of mountaineering.
Nice.
But yeah, I
Nice.
think kind of like that. It's not that specific, but I think kind of if you go into
They
any
work.
decent outdoor shop and get a decent pair of anything like the Berghaus pants, they're quite popular and they're good. Like, and same with the jackets.
They're very good. Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? I mean, people underestimate the importance, and you're dead right in what you say. You know, if you get wet, you can still go ahead, right? But it's not comfortable. And like having the wet gear, I always have it in my bag as well because we live in Ireland. Like, I mean, it's going to rain.
Yeah,
I mean,
definitely. Like
you
that,
know,
you can do that if you want to shoot 2 meters from the car, and you can sit in the car if there's a shower or anything like that. But you just won't kind of get them unique images, or like that. You can go out in the blue sky and go somewhere and get a decent shot, but you're not going to get them
Absolutely.
conditions like that. I think a lot of time the conditions are the best just in between showers, or just before
Agreed.
shower, just after shower. So to kind of be
Agreed.
there at the time and be prepared is nearly, I think, half the image.
And you know what? Don't be afraid of a bit of rain, especially if you've got your wet gear. Welcome it.
Yeah, or
You know,
even the camera is fine as well with a bit of rain.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. All right, Felix, man, we're almost there. There's only two final questions for me to ask you, which is number one, what's next for you? And number two, where can people find more info on you?
Next, really, there's nothing too much planned. Just the usual, get out and shoot whenever I can, and try and kind of see as much of Ireland for the moment, anyways. And I think, like you were saying earlier, there's still so much here and such a beautiful country. I just kind of want to concentrate on getting plenty more images here in Ireland.
Well,
so that's kind of
I'm looking forward now to seeing you get out more, and looking forward to seeing what you can get as well now over the winter months, because you're coming into your prime now for the winter time.
I am, but it's tough as well now, like, because it's dark when you're going to work, and it's dark when you come home to work. So that's 5 days out of the week gone already. Yeah. So you kind of have to hope for the weekend, and there's so many other things for doing then that it's tough to find the time just exactly there for the weekend. But I'll try anyways.
Well, do you know what, boy? Even if you get out and you get out once, it's better than not getting out. And even, you know, I really think, and I said this 1,000 times before, bad conditions do not exist in landscape photography. There's always
the worse
a shot.
The conditions, the more potential there is to kind of get something
absolutely
unique.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And so where's your handles, boy? Where's your handles on the socials?
Like yourself, I don't have a too common name, so it's easy enough to find me if you just search Felix Sproll. It's Felix.Sproll on Instagram, and just the website is felixsproll.com. So yeah, if you stick it in anywhere, it shouldn't be too hard to find.
Well, look, I'll put all the links into the description where people can find you, and I would really recommend go have a look at that calendar. You know, help him out, get rid of the last few that he has there. I suppose you won't regret it, because I think they're phenomenal images. And it's been a phenomenal chat. I mean, look, I know we waited a number of months to have it, but I'm really happy that we did, because I really enjoyed, you know, hearing your take on photography, and again, you know, talking about some of the images that you've taken there as well, I suppose, in detail. It's been fascinating conversation. Thanks a million, man, for coming on.
Yeah, thanks very much, Darren, for having me on the podcast. It's been a pleasure. The hour and a half now just flew by. It's a great way to spend a Monday evening, and also fair play to your 150 episodes. Like, I know it's probably a lot of work, and fair play to you for sticking at it for so long and imagine it's a lot of work that you put into it. So well done on that part of things.
Oh,
keep them coming.
cheers, man. Yeah, cheers, man. Thanks a million. I have a very, very understanding wife who allows me to do it. So you know what? I never underestimate the strength behind me in relation to that. But no, I really do appreciate it. Yeah. So look, we'll have to try and hook up there for a shoot. I know we did last year actually in December, albeit briefly. But yeah, we'll have to hook up there now for a shoot over winter.
Definitely, yeah. Sounds good. Let me know if you're ever up in this part of the country, and we can head out and.
Yeah, it's on my list, man. It's on my list. I mean, my list probably isn't as big as yours, but it's definitely on my list anyway, for sure. Man, look, Felix, it's been an absolute pleasure, like I said. Thank you very, very much, and I'll hopefully see you soon. So from me in Cork to you in the beautiful Galway, Slán go fóill.
Bye.
Hey guys, if you dig what you're hearing, why don't you jump over to iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Give us a 5-star rating and don't forget to share with your friends. With all that done, we'll see you next week. And remember, keep shooting.